this stuff that I own, it's really not owned by me at all, right? It's all of us. Like if any of us are going to win, all of us have to win big. That's what we say all the time in our houses.
Welcome to the Build It to Billions podcast, where we guide successful entrepreneurs and investors on their journey from millions to billions. We believe that the key to scaling your business and compounding your wealth starts every day with a mindset and practice of stewardship over ownership and applying billionaire biblical principles. Our ultimate goal, to help you scale and compound your wealth and life so you can give more or all of it away to help MVPs. I'm your host today, Brett Swartz. In every episode, we feature some of the world's top entrepreneurs, millionaires, and billionaires. They share their principles, values, secrets, and wisdom, providing each of us with the insights we need to reach the next level of faith, success, and impact. I'm so excited about our next guest. He's out of the state of Colorado. He's going to teach us how to invest in real estate using a co-living strategy. In fact, that's the title of the episode, building wealth using co-living strategy, which is totally new to me, which in real estate, there's not a lot of stuff that's new to me, but this gentleman is going to bring the fire. In fact, his journey is to the co-living strategy spans about 2.5 decades, including experiences in communes, co-ops, and international living spaces. In 2017, he launched his co-living investment and property management company, leveraging other people's money and syndication strategies to build his real estate portfolio using his own capital and so much more. Please welcome to the show with me, Mr. Grant Shipman. Grant, how are we doing?
Hey, I'm really grateful to be here, Brett. It's the combination of kingdom principles, really like understanding how this world was made and how it works, right? Gives such a unique advantage to real estate, because real estate's all about people and how they work, whether they understand how they work or not. So it's very cool to be here. Thanks for making all this happen.
Absolutely. And for our listeners getting to know you for the first time, would you give us just a little bit more about your story and your current focus?
Yeah. So I had come from the real short of it to say, if this relates to anybody listening. I had no real estate experience. I was a pastor at about a 6,000 person church for a while. We were focused at Iowa State University. And I did mission work over in Thailand, and just north of Bangkok, these kind of things. But all to say, I had really invested in my character, who I was, all of that. But I was delivering Domino's pizza. I was renting a room, and in 15 months later, I had financial freedom and a $2 million net worth. And that was because of co-living. This is something that I've taught many people to do. It doesn't have to do with being gifted. And sometimes when we talk about the gospel, we say, hey, it's not if an incredibly skilled farmer's hand reaches into a bag and pulls out seeds and spreads them, it's going to grow just as much as an unskilled farmer's hand reaches in and spreads. It's the power of the seed, right? And co-living is what is in demand right now in real estate. Actually, it is the number one rental demand, is the one person lease. And so whether one person is getting a 2-bedroom apartment, a 5-bedroom house, or renting a room in a house, this is the number one demand. So to say where I came from was really, I thought, what do I have to do with real estate? And then I realized, holy moly. And that enabled me to do my dreams, which was get married, have kids, and not just the finances to support them, but the schedule to actually enjoy them.
Wow. Okay. So cool. And by the way, if you want to learn more about what Grant's doing, you can go to livingsmithpro.com, livingsmithpro.com. His company's called Living Smith. Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Let's dive in right into the topic, which is, and maybe you just explain the number one secret, which is just that it's such in demand, and it's awesome. But maybe you can give us maybe the next secret or the next part of the process about building wealth using co-living. And then of course, weave in how you went from basically 0 to 2 million in 15 months.
Yeah, that's great. That's a really good question. So I want to go to and speak to people who are new with real estate, because this stuff is going to apply just as well to anybody who has experience, and you can translate it to yourself. But those who are new, they understand, hey, rental real estate is the king of real estate investment. You get tax advantages, you have principal pay down, you have an inflation hedge, you get appreciation, you have all of this stuff. It's really cool, and you're providing quality housing. So just to zoom in, real estate buy and hold, so you have rental properties, is so massive. It's also, you're getting paid because you're providing such a good service. Then you take that and you add it, this layer of understanding with co-living and what it does. I'll tell you what it is in a moment, but more importantly, what does this do for you? It allows you to have a rental strategy that is safer. There's not as much risk involved. And it allows you to buy a property easier and have an easier property to manage. So it's combining all these different strengths in one strategy. So what co-living is it's actually been something that's brewing since about 2003. For the first time ever in America, more people were living alone than any other group of people. That is profound. Over time, because of the financial downturn with the subprime mortgage issues, we had the pandemic, we had all these things happen. Basically, people are tired of living alone. They're tired of spending so much money on housing. More people are renting than ever before. However, they want kind of community on their own terms. There's a lot of people who don't have blood relation to live with anymore. People are getting married later. Marriages are failing. So to say is, what's amazing thing about co-living is you take a normal house in a normal neighborhood. So think like an A or B level neighborhood. And instead of putting that on one lease, you take the number of bedrooms in that room and you put each lease on each bedroom. This is a long-term lease. So this is anywhere from, 3 months, 12 months. We have 3-year long leases. So this is not transitional housing. This is not sober living. This is not rooming housing. This is not an Airbnb house. This is a place where quality people, like say a college professor or an HVAC technician or a civil engineer, they want to live and have a wonderful home, but they don't want to have just some empty place to come back to. So, so to kind of wrap this up, Brett, as far as the why and the what is, this takes a house that would normally get, say, $2,400 a month in rent, or maybe in more expensive areas like we're in the Denver area as well. That's going to be, say, $2,900, $3,000. It's going to take that property and you're going to make about $6,300 per month with it. However, you are still only going to have the same one kitchen sink to maintain, one HVAC system, one roof. So the asset management of the house, keeping it great over the next 10, 15 years is really easy.
Got it. Okay, let me say it again. Okay, so basically you're taking a house that you would have rented out, either did short term if you want to do that, which has all kinds of restrictions, all kinds of challenges that are going on right now.
Totally right.
Number two, or longer term, just one person in one house or one family in one house that rents about $2,400 a month. And you take a 3 or 4 bedroom house and you're renting out each of the rooms for longer term A or B locations, right? To professionals that are tired of living alone and want some form of community, but also not necessarily living with family. They're actually just single individuals. Is that a fair summary so far?
You nailed it. Great. Yeah.
Okay. So walk us through scaling from 0 to 2 million in 15 months.
So check this out. I'm going to cover it really quick, and then you ask questions, Brett, to clarify. Your listeners best is, you need 3 things to buy a house. You need money, you need to qualify for a loan, and you need sometimes we'll just say you need somebody to live in that house if you want to get the house for 5% down or lower. Otherwise, you're going to pay 20 to 25% down for a loan. This is a huge benefit of America, by the way, is us Americans don't realize how good we have it. We have a 30-year fixed mortgage and it's phenomenal. So, but if you think about these 3 things, and they're real specific to co-living, is just put yourself in one of these 3 shoes, 3 pairs of shoes. Is one, You might have $30,000 cash, and that's pretty much what it costs all around, all the cash you need. More expensive areas might be 40,000, but this is not much. So if you have $30,000 cash, cool. Or maybe you have access to that. Then you might have a W-2 job where you could qualify for a mortgage. And then the third one is you might be a person who has the lifestyle, meaning you could live in a room in a house, and you have the character that you could live in that and be a good housemate. Now, you're probably not all of these things. Some people are all of these things. But for instance, with me, when I was delivering Domino's, I could not qualify for a loan, right? I did not have savings, and but I did have the character, so I could move into a house, and that means rather than a 20% down payment, now it's a 5% down payment. So just to say, if you know somebody, like say you can't move in the house, but you know somebody, maybe it's a niece, nephew, neighbor, employee, something like this, they got great character and they would love free rent for 12 months. They just saved themselves $11,000. If you know somebody else that they've got a job and they don't need to bring any cash, but if they simply qualify for the loan, then they're going to make themselves $6,000, a $6,000 raise. So, and then of course, there's the people who have money, and that might be you. And if it's not you, just so you know, when you have money, that's just as difficult as not having money because you have to know what to do with it. So, so that's how you buy a house. You get a house going for $30,000 in a year, and this house is going to make back that $30,000 in the next 2 years tops.
Okay, so pause here. So this sounds like what we did. I'm from California. It's really expensive there. And like our friends and our friends' parents would buy the house next to the college, and they have good friends, and then they'll get 3, 4, 5, 6 of them, all to move into the house, all to pay some rent, right? And the mom and dad for the next 4 years has a place the kids for the stay. And hopefully they didn't crush the place, right, and just destroy it and lose the character real fast. And it's Animal House. Hopefully it's more like that you're respectful on. But then then the kids graduate, or maybe the son or daughter, this brother or sister is coming up behind them, and they keep going, and they do that for 4 or 8 years, and they get all the appreciation. They get all the excess rent. They have someone that they can trust, their kid. Hopefully they can trust them on site. Is that what you're saying here? But now you're systematizing this, and you're doing this for like the working professional. Is that a fair summary?
Yes, really, really similar. And it's like that, only it gets better. Because you're not in college housing, the houses are taken care of really well. And then you additionally have a house that and this is where the next layer of it is. When you buy the house, like you mentioned, parents will use their college student, right? And everybody wins, and they get a rental property when that college student, moves away. The next layer of it, and this is so important because people underestimate it, is just like if you're doing long-term property management or landlording, and you think I'll just start up an Airbnb and manage it the same way, you're in for a world of trouble. There's a very unique style of management that requires. And if you have the right management to fit your rental strategy, then things work smooth. So with co-living property management, it's a specific style made just for that. I learned it from the communes. I lived in a Christian house that had 26 people in it in Austin. I lived in a hippie commune where they're kind of like, keep your Christianity to yourself, right? They're super nice, right? But they'd been around since 78. I learned all of these things from the intentional living community, and I took their wisdom and I translated it into a property management renter relationship. And
okay,
the houses.
Pause here. This is Steven's trying to get into the meat here. Okay, so you get the idea. Okay, got it. You mentioned banking and financing. Are you saying that I could come to a bank and say, look, I'm going to buy this house, but I got it pre-leased with 5 other people ready to rent it, and they're gonna say, great. It's kind of like you get a tenant in tow is what it's called in the commercial real estate world, right? And based upon that, they're more likely to finance you the property. Is that what you're saying there? Yes.
Well, if you want to do like so in are you familiar with the DSCR loans
Yep. Yep.
in the commercial? So if you wanted to do like a conventional or a DSCR loan, then you could do that without a doubt.
And that's
Um,
cover service ratio, right? Where they're looking at X amount of rent that's going to be coming in versus the
right.
overall debt payment. And typically they want 1.25, or sometimes 1.5, sometimes 1.2, depending on what it is. But basically using the leases, right, to increase the NOI, the net operating income, which then can help you qualify. Okay, so you can do DCSR loans, and then 30,000. You kept saying $30,000 down payment, like a 5% down
Mm,
payment, and so practically walk us through. Someone's like, okay, great, but am I managing it? You're managing it. Like, what do you mean? What do you
mm,
mentioned that? So get into some of that there, because people may say like, hey, I don't want to live. I already have my house, right? So I'm not the
hmm.
single person. I'm just an investor. Let's start with that person there.
Yeah.
Okay. They're worth multiple millions of dollars. They're tired of the Airbnb. They're tired of the multifamily. By the way, have you tried this with fourplexes, right? That have
Right.
HOAs, or HOAs stopping this or anything about that? Kind of walk through all that.
Yeah. Okay. So the with a person who is a more of a an experienced investor, this is going to be like Brett mentioned, that it's not like Airbnb. They're not trying to outlaw it. So you could grab. So I grabbed a house for, I think it cost me $180,000. I paid 25% down payment, and that was a DSCR loan. If you have that, it's a straight up investment property. You do not need a primary resident in any regard. Um, if you want to get that same house, but only get it for $30,000, $40,000 cash in, then you need to find somebody that's willing to just live in the house for rent free for 1 year. They're not going to do anything besides be a good person. And then, and this is called house hacking commonly, except for co-living properties, are specifically for this because it's rent by the room the entire time. So if as a seasoned investor, you'd rather put more money into the deal because the returns are still great. I do DSCR all the time or conventional, but I can get that house for a fraction of the cash, and it just depends on what you want to pick. So that covers. Does that cover that part pretty well, Brett?
Let's break it down. So you bought it for 180. You put $25,000 down. What's your
Or
NOI?
oh, 25% down was the DSCR I
Okay,
landed
that's what
on.
you meant. Okay, so
Yeah, yeah.
25% down. So you buy it for $180,000, and you're putting down $45,000. Okay, and then
Well, it
and
was,
then
yeah. So let me, what is it? I'll bring up the, let's see. So um, this was a $480,000 house.
okay,
We got it for 25% down. Um,
okay.
so let's
So
see here.
$120,000 down. Okay, got it.
Yeah, and then we had, um, and then we had we had some remodeling and things like that. It'll take about
Okay.
$10,000 to set up the house. You're going to be
Okay, so
furnishing
you're in it for
those things. So
130,000. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
well, and so if you would do, say, instead of that 25% down, if you would do if you do that, say, with a,
Let's do the real
owner
one. Let's just do the
occupant.
real one. Let's just do this one you did, right? You bought it for 480, but 130 in.
Oh,
What's
okay.
the
Yeah,
what's the average? What's the average? NOI, net operating income.
yeah. So NOI 9 is 6,300 a month.
Okay, so that's net of all expenses, all income. You're netting $6,300 per month. Yes.
Yep.
So if we take
Oh,
130.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm going off your language now. No, the that's the gross. The net is 3,100 a month.
Okay, so at 50%, about 50% goes back to expenses.
Yeah, yeah, and that's
Okay.
yeah, with reserves, all of that. Yeah,
Okay, so 37,800. It would be the NOI before debt service. What's the average debt service on that you got on that one?
oh, okay. I'm picking up on how, because I've, any real estate circles, they're using terms differently. So debt service, including reserves, the cash flow is 3,100.
Okay.
And the reserves are about 250 a month. So if you
Okay,
want
so
to,
we'll take $3,100 times it by
Hmm.
12, so it's 37,000. I put 130,000 in. I'm taking that 37,000 by the 130. So 28.6%.
Yeah, yeah, and that's not utilizing a primary resident, and so it's still fantastic.
Forget about
Um,
we're still staying here. Okay. So we're not gonna do that.
yeah.
We stay in this lane here. So okay. How much time energy management, or you mentioned something about someone moving in for 1 year
Mm.
and then like hanging out, or I don't know what he's doing or that they're doing. Like what
Right.
like and
Sorry to
no one's
throw you
getting
off
paid,
there.
no one's
Yeah.
getting paid, it's free rent. So like walk me through management cost, like that whole thing. I guess if that's all included in there, right? Or you feeling like it's less management because people are living there and they're self-managing themselves? Is that the idea, or walk me through that?
Yeah. So one distinction to make is when people do co-living, sometimes they'll have an in-house manager, and a lot of people do this. And I can tell you just absolutely, it's always the worst option, not just for the people living in the house, but for the investor. So the when I mentioned having a person live in there for 12 months, it's simply utilizing a house hack strategy. So you can put 3 to 5% down, and so you're saving on your down payment. And that person, they do absolutely nothing. Actually, it's better if they just kind of keep their mouth shut, because if nobody knows that they are helped buy the property, then ever I mean, the way to put it is, in this kind of house, it does mostly run itself if you use a good system.
And you get great
But
people. Yeah, you get great
yeah,
people. I guess
but
that's
if
what it comes down to. Keep going.
yeah, but if you have a person, and this is what I learned from actually this group of hippies, they're awesome. I was like, hey, who's in
Yeah.
charge? And they're like, nobody, so all of us are in charge. So if somebody is responsible in the house, and if this is your dream, you want to be kind of a house mom, house dad, that's fine. But if you want to hear from me what makes your house easiest to run and what makes you the most money, it is having nobody's in charge in the house, so everybody takes responsibility, instead of people saying, hey, there's a problem, so Joe over there, he's going to take care of it, I don't need
Okay,
to.
it's a commune. Yeah, it's commune. I got it.
Yeah.
So, okay. Okay, let's get practical here. How many do you have right now?
What? So something my wife and I landed on is, at a certain point, we stopped sharing our total houses or net
Okay.
worth. Our Yeah. But something I will share very freely about is, like, specific numbers, or especially recent purchases, or when we got houses, if that's helpful.
Yeah, that's helpful. I guess the biggest objection I think someone would have or listening is like, that all sounds great if the community gets along great. There's not a lot of
Mm,
headaches. There's great people. They're all paying on time. I mean, that sounds wonderful, right? In theory, right? But I guess
right.
you got a lot of people who are in real estate who old dogs new tricks, right? Kind of thing. So it's hard. Sometimes it's hard. To move into this or move into something that's new, right? And it's part of
Mm,
what we use something called a deferred sales trust. It's an alternative to a
mm,
1031 exchange. It's capital
yeah.
gains tax deferral. There's different controls. There's different fees. There's different timing. Lots of flexibility. Really neat stuff. But it's always a give and take there, right? So what would you say is like I guess the ones you sold? Let's put it that way. For the assets that you sold that didn't work
Mm.
out, was like, oh man, like the location, or oh man, we found that one tenant that was like, oh man, they were the one that kind of poisoned the house, as far as the culture, right? give me
Yeah.
give me give me some of the things that are like you wish you would have
All right.
done differently. Yeah.
Well, so in I started this in 2021. We've never had to sell a house, and
Okay, that's good.
and also we haven't wanted to. I've bought out partners. The closest we came to that, and I was just coaching some of our clients this morning, is what we had run into, when in about around 2015, people started using occupancy codes. So a single family is no more than three unrelated adults, kind of against their neighbors rather than communicating. Um, and so something that I shared with this guy, because before he got involved with us, he had bought this house. He didn't realize that his neighborhood, no more than three unrelated adults could live together. And I said, you either need to figure out how to, win your neighbors back over, or you might just need to sell that property, because it's not worth having a property that stresses you out. Um, so that was the closest we had that come up in oh wow, like about 8 years ago, and we looked at it, and the city actually changed their laws 4 times in 1 year, or sorry, 4 times in 2 years, which was absurd. Yeah, and so thankfully now legislation, just like it's working against Airbnb, it's working for this. Plenty of states are banning these restrictions. So Colorado, my state, just did that July 1st. We have managed properties multiple places, but I would say is this management system has a place that fits for itself. If we have a problem person come around, the household usually removes that, or that person, or the property manager will remove that person, because you can't have one person ruin your house. That's not how it needs to be. And as far as for those of you with larger portfolios, a full-time property manager would be able to manage 140 leases easily. Max 180 leases, but we do 140 leases. This would be a inexperienced $25 an hour property manager who has the right systems. We're not talking about a high-powered multifamily property manager.
Okay. All right, cool. Does it work for like fourplexes or duplexes, or, does it need to be larger square foot houses? Like, what's kind of the model, their template there?
Yeah. So we find it works the best in single families. People just like to live in a single family house. So, and that's going to be somewhere between a 25 and probably 3,600 square foot house. A 2,500 square foot house would be about 7 bedrooms. You always want one bathroom to every 3 bedrooms. Now let me switch to multifamily, because my multifamily friends, they love this. The distinction though is going to be, like you mentioned, with fourplex. That gets a lot easier with parking, and it's really just a rent analysis. Can you make more money, and is it worth it? Cool. But when you get to larger buildings, there's plenty of times there's just not many 3-bedroom plus places, or there's restrictions on parking. So it comes down to where you're at. So it works wonderfully with multifamily in theory, but in practice it depends on the properties you have.
Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like if you have parking issues, it would be tough. And generally people like, at least one bathroom every 3 beds, 2,500 to 3,600 square feet. By the way, Grant, you're doing a great job answering all the questions. Living Smith is the website, or Living Smith is the company. LivingSmithPro.com is the website. And, he achieved financial freedom in 15 months through co-living. Let's talk about the impact now, right? We talk about the finances, the numbers, getting through all that. At the end of the day, like, you're making a big difference in people's lives, right? And you're providing, the housing crisis is massive in this country, and people need a place to live and a safe place to live. People also need to be in community, right? I think depression and all kinds of these other stats are just through the roof right now, ever since COVID especially. But, community, connection, the ability to feel safe, because you know your neighbors. In this sense, you really know your neighbors because you're living with them, right?
Right.
And you're right. Not everyone's getting married. Not everyone's having kids. And so this is a big thing. So how does it feel to make an impact, and connect how that works with your faith?
This is a big deal. Like, it is, if you invest in Hershey's, right? Like, you can get on a plane and drive by the headquarters, and you might feel like you're helping this company. But when you have not like a single family house, for those of you out there, you realize, like, okay, cool, you drive by and you're like, that's providing safe housing. However, when that house now, so for instance, our normal rentals will be 7 to 9 people, no, bedroom houses, and you have these people, and it's so cool to see, because when people become part of a stable, healthy household, not only do these households on the investment side, like we mentioned, run themselves, and they're so beautiful, right? Like, renters are saving thousands of dollars a year, and you're making thousands more dollars, right? It's like everybody wins big. But you see changes that are profound. And that is something that's helped me attract investors a lot. People are like, oh, I get to, I get these each month when we send out our performance reports. The household supporters, our property manager, we call them household supporters. The property manager includes, little stories from the household. And there's these non-traditional households. People get to experience healthy kind of like family. And some people who never thought they could hold down a relationship and get married, they suddenly realize, oh, I can. And they propose to their girlfriend and move away, and that's wonderful, right? And I mean, when somebody has not just safe housing and reliable housing, but a healthy household, their lives change, and they just want to stay there as long as they can, right? Unless, like I mentioned, somebody is like, holy cow, I can actually propose to my girlfriend because we could live together and it could be a healthy relationship, and I never thought I could resolve conflict, right? Which, by the way, our conflict resolution process, it's totally just oh shoot, I forget, what is it? Is it Matthew 16 or Matthew 18, which is like, hey, if you have a problem, go talk to that person. It's totally that, and it works beautifully. And the houses use it themselves, and they transform. It's really cool.
It's absolutely really cool. And I love your mission. I love your heart about it. And I love that you're making a difference in these people's lives, and you're right. Not everyone grew up in a household that was healthy or that was
Right.
functional, or that everyone has dysfunction in their family, but that everyone has a chance to see. And who's to say that it has to be in the traditional family setting that you get that? And if it can be in this commune kind of family, it would make lifelong friends and connections. And if you have a safe, reliable, healthy household that is actually affordable, because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, I think it's something around the average American is spending, I don't know if it's 30 to 50% of their income just on housing alone.
Yeah.
And you go, how do they pay
Yeah.
for healthcare, education, or retirement, or anything like basic needs? They got to give up a lot, especially in these cities that are just very, very expensive, like the Denvers, the San Franciscos, the San Diegos, the Chicagos, the New Yorks. So are you finding these are, suburbia versus urban? Like, any kind of insight on that, or what are some great places to be doing this in?
Yeah, so this is what is cool, right? People think that co-living is for really urban places. So there's been 256 million of like startup powerful capital put into this, but this works any place. It works really well any place that is not dying, right? So if it's MSA is decent, but just any place where you would get housing, this works well there, and it works really well.
Hmm.
Where I would say not to do it is, chat is jump on, Google the code enforcer and just ask, hey, what's the max unrelated adults? I want to provide some great housing. It's going to be rent by the room, but what is that? And you'll find that a lot of people are so pleased because this is their number one need as a city, is this kind of quality housing. You're using current inventory to increase housing density. So if you do that, just make sure, like, hey, it's so easy to make money with co-living. Get a house that's like 100% legal, and you get extra peace of mind at night. Yeah.
Okay, cool. A couple other rapid questions. What's like, said Denver or Colorado is like great for it, sounds like. Is that, would you say like,
Yeah.
like that 10 out of 10 kind of thing? And then what's
Oh,
like a bottom of the barrel, like, oh, that state is just really difficult. Is there anything like kind of like that?
it's yeah. So something you have to kind of so Colorado was difficult until this last July 1st.
Flipped. Mm.
They banned all such restrictions. Texas has banned all such restrictions. Iowa has banned all such restrictions. New York has, California has, and the states go on. There are also counties that have banned this. As far as what states are bad, this is really going to, like, say for instance, Indiana is a really landlord-friendly state, but it just is it's very, I don't know, it's very against this idea. Now, we also have very successful investors in there. I'm just talking about states in general.
Yeah.
But this will work absolutely anywhere that's not like super duper rural, right? My parents came from Western Nebraska. Maybe don't do it in Scottsbluff, Nebraska. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Not super rural. By the way, so you're saying Texas, Iowa, New York, California, Colorado have all banned which means that's a good thing for this thing.
It's
That
a
means
good thing.
they can't restrict the number of households. Just want to make sure everyone got that clear. Okay, and then has anyone done it with like a fourplex or a duplex or an eightplex? Let's imagine they're all 2 bedrooms, or would you say like it needs to at least be 3 or 4 bedrooms? Like you kind of mentioned a little bit. Is there a reason for
Yeah.
that? It's not just 2 people. Is that what you
Well,
really want to get to 3 to 5 or 7? Like walk me through that piece of it.
yeah, so it's easy to understand if you just look at two guiding factors. One is, can you get more rent using this strategy? Because otherwise, rent it out on a one lease on that property, that unit, and just do that. Because managing, say, if you have
Yeah.
a 4 bedroom apartment,
Right.
managing 4 leases takes you more time than managing one lease. That's how it
Right.
is. Um, but if it makes you 2 to 3 times as much money, and it only takes you about maybe a third more management time,
Mhm.
then there's that. The other guiding factor is does the property fit it? We spoke about that, and then with it is actually with that, the more people you have in a house up until 11, and this is just because how social dynamics work is, the more people you have in a house, that's actually the better for the people, because adults are usually not at home. They're at their jobs. These are responsible adults. They're out with their friends. And so if, for instance, we have plenty of 4 bedroom houses, but those people will oftentimes not see each other, right? So if you have more people, it's more likely that some people will have the same schedule. They'll see each other. It's really good. You'll just have to kind of take my word on this, because if you walked into one of our 10 bedroom houses, you would just be like, holy cow, there's 10 people who live here. The only thing I noticed was the lawn looks more nice than the rest of the neighborhood.
Hmm.
And but once you get to 12 people, they actually start to group into groups of 6, which isn't bad. It's just a little bit confusing, because it's like you're dealing with 2 households instead of 1. So yeah, anything, 7 to 9 is a real sweet spot. 10, 11 is still great.
Okay. Excellent. We're running out of time. You ready for the lightning round?
Let's do it, man. Woo.
All right. Know what you know now, Grant. If you go back to your 20-year-old self, what's the one golden nugget? Make sure to tell yourself to do.
Oh, I would tell myself, American real estate, owner occupant financing, just do it, and do it as often as possible.
Excellent. Number one book you recommend or gift for the most in the past year?
It is Loopholes in Real Estate by Garrett Sutton.
Like that. Next question. What are you most curious about right now?
I'm I'm really I'm really curious about masculine feminine roles. I grew up in the church, and I actually got tired of a lot of the stuff. And then, through marriage, through different things, I'm like, you know what? I think that, what I had learned in kind of my Christian spirituality is really good. It just had words that had gotten problematic. So like the power of, like my masculine nature, it's a very curious thing to me. I don't really, it's so new. I don't have a lot more to say to it besides I like it. I like how God made us.
Cool. Awesome. Right on. Next question. Favorite leadership quote or theme that you strive to live by?
So my my coach, my business real estate coach, Jason Dreves. He's also the coach of Brandon Turner. But Jason Dreves says, he says we were wired for comfort and the easy path, but we were born for greatness. And ever since I started working with him, it was actually only about a year ago now, it's just been opening, me up to stuff and doing cooler things than I even thought. So yeah, I really love that.
Beautiful. Love that. I'm writing that quote down. All right, last question, right? And this is kind of the foundation of our podcast, which is stewardship over ownership, right? Which is the thought that, we've all been given certain gifts in this life, and the gifts have been given us to be blessing and help to others, right? And our part of our encouragement for everyone listening is to use those gifts to be a blessing and help more people. So how do you feel about stewardship over ownership, and what are some ways that you're practicing that to help the most vulnerable people in this world?
Yeah, I would say we live at an amazing time where the thing that we're suddenly, the desire to help compared to the desire to provide for our families and our financial dreams, maybe our charity dreams, all of this stuff, that these actually line up with co-living and to bring people together to get these properties, to bring renters together that make these non-traditional households, and the stewardship, ownership that happens in people. That's the way that God made us. It's like, oh, this stuff that I own, it's really not owned by me at all, right? It's all of us. Like if any of us are going to win, all of us have to win big. That's what we say all the time in our houses.
I absolutely love it. Stewardship is taking care of and helping more people that you possibly can, right, with the gifts you've been given, and also the strategy and structuring of deals in finance and entrepreneurship and business, right? It's
Yeah.
and this is part of what we're talking about all today with Mr. Grant Shipman. By the way, again, you can go to livingsmithpro.com to learn more about Grant. Grant, I want to thank you for being on the show. It's been more than a
Yeah.
pleasure. I want to encourage you to keep using your gifts of strategy, of structuring, of creativity, of community, of building cultures, and empowering people to help end the housing crisis by helping people
Yeah.
build these co-living spaces and the strategies. For our listeners who want to get in touch with you, would remind them one last time, what's the best place for them to find you?
Yeah. If you go if you go to colivingchallenge.com, by the way, you're going to find everything. But we just started this because everybody needs to hear this. We do a free 5-day training. So colivingchallenge.com and shoot us a message. I'll reach out to you. We'll get it. We'll make it happen.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you, Grant. Also, I thank all of our listeners for listening to another episode of the Build to Billions podcast. We're also streaming on Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast too, by the way. But here on Build to Billions, we want to guide you, the successful entrepreneur and investor, on your journey from millions to billions. Again, we believe that the key to scaling your business and compounding your wealth starts every single day with a mindset and practice of stewardship over ownership, and applying billionaire biblical principles. Our ultimate goal to help you scale and compound your wealth and life so you can give more or all of it away to help MVPs. I'm Brett Swartz. I appreciate everyone listening today. Please rate, review, subscribe, share this with someone who could be an encouragement today, and go make a difference in someone's life. And we appreciate everyone watching and listening. We'll talk to you soon. Bye now.